Welcome to this week's episode. I'm Paula Williams.
I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help you ladies and gentlemen out there in the aviation world sell more products and services.
Absolutely. And to that end, we're doing a book club this week. Kind of long overdue. It's been a while since we've done one. But life gets busy, right?
It does. Life happens.
Exactly. So this time we're talking about Seth Godin's
Just so you know, it's not upside down.
All marketers tell stories, or all marketers tell lies, whichever version you want to take there. It's all kind of a matter of perception, right?
Yes.
Seth Godin's actually really, really good at explaining this, and we have a really good time talking about the book, right?
Yeah, we talk about perception in the book.
Exactly. Speaking of perception, this episode has been brought to you by our Aviation Sales Basics course. We have done a lot of different courses over our lifetimes. We've done Sandler, we've done Dale Carnegie, we've done Pacific Institute.
And industry specifics such as real estate.
Exactly.
Insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And others.
So some folks think that, sales is sales. And there is
something to be said for that, because everybody's in the selling business, even if just convincing somebody of your idea.
Exactly. But selling in the aviation industry does have some different things about it that we found weren't being covered in the other courses that are out there. And we really want our clients to be successful with the leads that we bring them. So we really want them to be good salespeople. That makes us all successful.
Absolutely.
All right. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation with our book club facilitator, Mickey Gaminoff.
That's it.
It's all yours. Take it away.
Cool. So welcome back to the book club for AVCI. So we're just going to kind of highlight, since it's kind of a quick episode, we're just going to highlight maybe favorite thing, least favorite thing. In this episode, we're talking about all marketers are liars, which is crossed out, but they do tell stories. So this was one of my favorites, but I'm excited to hear your guys' opinion on it. So Paula, if you'd like to go first, go ahead.
Okay, you can call me Mom if you want to.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, awesome. I suppose in a professional capacity, we should use our first names. But anyway, yeah, that was my favorite too. I actually really, really like Seth Godin. He has a really nice way of summarizing things. He writes really short, punchy, impactful books. And I think he really adheres to the principle of communicate one idea at a time. Whereas a lot of other people and a lot of other authors try to pile on way too much so that it becomes less effective. So that's my first impression of that book.
Cool. How about you, John?
Well, there was a lot in here. A lot of it's been rehashed, but then that's the way marketing is. Overall, I liked it. Specifically, if I can go into specifics.
Yeah, go ahead.
On page 110, he in boldface says, expectations are the engine of our perceptions. And complex stories carry all sorts of perceptions. Where people choose to stop, the way the transaction is handled, the noise, music, lighting, each element is at least as important as the item itself. I thought that was actually quite insightful.
Yeah.
SIGHT, insightful.
Not insightful, and INCITE full, like, let's incite violence and that kind of thing, right?
Cool. Yeah, no, I agree. As far as basically, it sounds to me like what you're saying is what things represent is at least as important as what they actually do. Is that like a variation of what he said? He said, what was the quote again? Our expectations are
the engine of our perceptions.
The engine of our perceptions. So because we expect it to work, it will. And I think you're right. I think that's like a major highlight. I think that's exactly what this book is all about, where it talks about they are liars, but they tell stories. It's not necessarily that they're lying about how great their product is for you. It's that you're believing that their product is that great for you. and thereby it is that great for you. It's that worthwhile. Yeah. No,
well, that's what I got out of it anyway.
Well, and there was this thing on NPR about the placebo effect, and how the more dramatic you make the presentation of the placebo. So, they actually had people that signed a waiver and everything else, but they actually pretended they did surgery on them. And it worked just as well as people who had actually had the procedure. But in order to make this convincing, they had to actually put them under, make an incision, all this other stuff, which to me is just like insane if you're not actually going to do something. But it was an experiment that they did on some I think it was NBA basketball players and their knees. I'll have to find that and maybe include that in the show notes. But the more dramatic,
by going through all that stuff, they proved their point quite effectively.
Right. And I think as marketers, and Mickey, you and I went through this when you started in Taekwondo, we went to a YMCA kind of a thing.
Right.
And that's how we got started. And it was a free thing, and everybody just kind of was late, and their kids weren't in uniform. And, the instructor was good, but there was nothing he could do to take this to the next level. And then we started actually paying a shockingly obscene amount of money for Taekwondo. And it was 1,000 times better because the parents made sure their kids were early, and they were in uniform, and they were ironed, and they were, threatened within an inch of their lives that they're going to behave and they're going to listen to the instructor because they're paying for this lesson, right?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I remember the second dojo had like a warm-up area that was 100% full. Everybody was getting ready in the stretch out area for their class that was in 20 minutes or whatever, because, this was an event. This is something that they paid for. And this is something that their family had paid for, and they were going to get their money's worth. And that's a lot of what investment really is all about. I mean, if you invest in yourself, you damn well better get a return, because most of people who have lived more than 5 years have invested in things that don't, don't pan out. But if you're going to invest in something that's going to make yourself better, you will not be the weakest link, which is, really insightful. And I think that's something that this book, kind of points out, is that, if people are paying more, the back of the book talks about $20 wine glasses. And, they're hand blown and everything like that. And it says wine tastes better in these wine glasses. And he keeps going back to that example. And as any, educated person knows, wine is just wine. It doesn't matter if you drink it out of a dollar store glass or a $20 glass. It doesn't make any difference. But there are wine critics, like major players in the wine field, who will tell you that you're way better off with different wine glasses than without. And, that's insightful, and people believe that, people buy that. And I don't know if I don't really think that that's like a jab at consumers, like saying they're all saps or anything like that. I really think that means that consumers want to pursue something a little more abstract. They want, a little more out of their life than just efficiency or existence,
Right. Another example is like with our marketing lab, we have people who do scholarships, and we do, 4 scholarships this year. We did 2 the last year and so on. The scholarship kids, they're not kids, they're grown-ups, they're whatever. But those folks don't take it as seriously as the people who are actually paying money for the marketing lab. The people that are actually paying money for the marketing lab show up for their office hours. They make sure they reschedule if they're not going to be able to make it. They read all the books, they do all the things. They have everything checked off in base camp. They do all the stuff because they're paying, and no matter what you try to give somebody, if they haven't invested in it, it just isn't worth as much, So I think that's, as marketers, we have to set up the conditions in which someone makes an investment. So, you for your tutoring students and things like that, you have to make them feel it. You have to make them feel a little bit of pain so that they know this is worth something to them. even if it's their parents that are paying for it or whatever, you got to get the kids to take it seriously, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this guy writes one more page. I'm going to read part of it.
Okay.
Because it makes his point exceedingly well. I didn't write this book. What I mean is that Seth Godin didn't write this book. It was written by a freelancer for hire named Mo Samuels. Godin hired me to write it because based on a skimpy 3-page outline. Does that bum you out? Does it change the way you feel about the ideas? Does the fact that Seth paid me $10,000 and kept the rest of the advance money make the book less valuable? Why should it matter who wrote a book? The words don't change after all. Yet I'm betting that you care a lot that someone named Mo wrote this book instead of the guy in the dust jacket. In fact, you're probably pretty angry. Well, if you made it this far, you realize that there is no Mo Samuels, and in fact, I was pulling your leg. I, Seth Godin, wrote every word of this book, and I apologize for fooling around with you. But the point should be pretty obvious. One of the reasons that the ideas in my book spread is that readers expect that they'll be spreadable. You expect that what I write will be fun and useful and pretty irreverent. Once you hear that the book was written by someone you've never heard of, it's a totally different story, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I remember that part. I mean, that part really sticks with you, especially in a lot of the books that I've read. That part, I mean, I could go the whole year, read all 12 books, but I will not forget the part where he says, "I'm not who I say I am," and breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cheating, really, right? Like, what a hell of a literary device to feel like.
Absolutely. No, that was brilliant. And that's exactly, do you remember Penn Jillette, John, from Dan Kennedy's thing?
Oh, yeah.
His whole premise, and Mickey, have you ever seen like, what is his show on cable? Bullshit.
Yes. Bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Can I say that? Anyway, I'll edit it out so that we can keep our PG rating. But anyway, the name of his show is BS. And his whole premise is about, he's a magician that tells the truth. And, he was in one of our marketing mastermind groups talking about how magicians are marketing people. They sell a concept, they sell an idea, they sell, I'm going to pull a rabbit out of this hat. And they make you believe that they're going to pull a rabbit out of this hat. And you want to be deceived. And it's entertainment because you're not hurting them. You're doing what they want you to do, and so on. So it's an interesting ethical dilemma. And Seth Godin and Penn Jillette, I think, both have an interesting take on it. But that's cool. Exactly. Anyway, that's a great quote, John. That part was a really good way of making that point.
Yeah, I think when I was initially reading that section, it was late and I was just barely staying awake. And then all of a sudden I was like, who the hell is talking to me right now? It's one of those things that kind of wakes you up. Like, wait a minute, who actually, you're checking the front of the book to see who says they wrote it and then all that. But yeah, no, I think it was really well done. But yeah, going back to the ethics of, convincing people of what they want to believe in order to gain profit. I mean, at the end of the day, right, 9 times out of 10, people are going to believe what they want either way, no matter what you have to say. So if you can help get them there in an efficient manner, and, one of the things that I learned when I was going through Peace Corps, one of our big statements was do no harm.
Yeah.
Which is basically, don't hurt people, don't leave people with negative impacts or negative impressions. For me, in that case, it was specifically of America, don't make people think all Americans are assholes. It was essentially like one of the tenets of the Peace Corps, which was a good, good rule. Like, don't hurt people, right. And I think in business, that's just as important. Nobody's going to feel fulfilled making money off of anybody's misery. That's all bad. And there's enough people who want better lives out there who are willing to pay for it. That there's no reason that you have to go through life, manipulating people into giving you money for nefarious purposes. It's just not necessary.
That's absolutely right. comes down to having a clean motive, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So any final thoughts on this All Marketers Are Liars / Tell Stories?
I think you did a great job on that one. That was a good book and a pretty interesting review.
Yeah, no, I think you guys all had some good insights. Thanks, John. I like the direct quotes.